Well, it took me a couple of seconds longer than I meant to get started today because I was eating a carrot. That's right, a carrot. I'm known to do it. Don't tell anybody, it's a secret. All right. Hi, how are ya? I'm plugging away in the studio today on some projects here where what I'm actually doing is sitting down and taking a look at this release that I was about to put out and cleaning it up. And so I want to walk you through something that I've released these panels. Now I'm going to pull off the banner in a second. Yeah, I might as well just do it now. Okay. I got the wrong episode number on it anyway. So I'm going to take myself off, take off the banner. There we go. And take off the other doodly-doo. So now you got my whole screen. Okay, so basically, the gist of things is that I have put together these pages, and part of the course of putting together these pages is that one of the challenges is that it doesn't quite work well enough. You know, it doesn't quite resonate. And in that, you know, you have to look at it like what's the problem with how I'm going about this? What's the problem with how am I approaching the project? And that, is it saying the things I want to say in the panels? Just cleaning my screen up here for a second. There you go. You can see my whole screen. The world turns. So, okay, so this is the first process. So what happened initially is that I took the page in its portrait format, and because I've decided to release everything that I do in a landscape format, that means instead of going up and down in a traditional way that comic books do, this old crazy kid. There, it's more natural if I say hi to you. Okay, so instead of doing things up and down in a traditional format, I'm going side to side. Okay, that's the difference between portrait and landscape. And so when I'm reassessing how I go about these pages that I've done, and I look at it in the perspective of how can I fix this and how can I make it better so that it reads easier, you can see how the images that I have on this page are stretched and pulled. And the reason they're stretched and pulled is that they're not uniformly following the shape of the panels as I drew them. They're trying to fit the format, and it doesn't work. So if I reassess these, okay, and let me knock that down a little bit bigger. There we go. So if I reassess these and I look at it again, this is what it looks like when I switch the format, but I maintain the integrity of the panels as they were drawn. Now, drawing style substantially changed, and there's a reason that it has the blue pen and, you know, the drawings in blue pen, and I'll get into that in a second. But you can see how it doesn't work here. You can see how there's panels that just look a little bit gonky because the perspective is off, and the proportions of the people is not quite right. And so it gets back into the leaner runner's leg, you know. But then again, I'm going to open up the initial page to show you. Boop, ba-doop, boop, boop, boop. Here it is. So this is the initial page. Now, in the portrait format, you can see how it looks initially, how the way it works. Now, when I did this, I didn't quite have as strong a grasp on lettering as I do now. I believe I do now. So when it switches over, when I switch it over now to the landscape format, I'm going to clean up the flow of the words so that it flows better across the page and it gets you to read it better. And so because I'm taking the moment to do that, it's not just fixing the image, but I'm actually taking a quick moment and I'm fixing the text. And so I think overall that's a stronger page. But the problem here is that if I've got the portrait format drawn as the initial way I approached illustrating the page, so I've only got half the page to fit onto that landscape format. I can't take all three tiers of the page and squish those down into a different format size. So what I've done instead, and this is a lot of copying and pasting, but this is the kind of thing some people look at and go, you're crazy, why are you doing all that? And other people look at it and go, by doing this, you're actually putting together something better. You're actually improving and fixing upon the work that you've already done so that it steps up into a higher quality. I would like to think anyways that people are having that way of looking at it. So we've gone from this to this. Doesn't work, right? So let's go back. We've gone from this now to this. But because we can't fit all three tiers of one page, that makes us have to do this, a second page. Now I'm following the same format markings, and I'll show you what that is. I have a template that guides out the pieces of a page and how I want things to come across, so that when you look at that same template on this page, you can see how these different shapes, whether they're moving up to the outside line, horizontally or vertically, something's touching that outside line and something is touching that secondary inner line. And it works across the same way for the next page. It's just the outside line is touched on both axes. It's just a way to keep the same uniform distance of white on the exterior of the image. I'll drop that down so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so if I take, so you see the format here. I'm going to jump again. You see the format here. But you can see how the different formats hold true together. Right? Right. That's it. So we've gone from this junk, and then subsequently the next page would look like this, which again is a little bit clunky. And the text, there's no uniformity in the size of this text. It's a little bit all over the place. Okay, so if I go from this to the new way of doing it, it forces me to have a second page because of the information I'm dividing between these three tiers. I can fit two on one, and then this one I can expand out. But another way to approach is, and instead of having the two pages, is to put together a third page. Let's drop down the size of that again. So this third size page, and I'm going to put the template back up again. This third size page, all the borders tend to hit inside the marks now. Now, I can go in here a little bit more and clean up and make sure that these panels touch the lines and there's a little more uniformity in the lines. I mean, that is something that I can do. And that's as simple as going in, highlighting that specific area, Control-T, and pulling that guy out to match his friends. And doing the same with this panel here. And I'm on the layer, of course, that just the visuals are on. That matches his friends. And then these two guys, a little too big for their own britches. So I'm going to pull him down the tiniest bit. Tricky to get it to be just so. And I'm just going to pull it up a smidgen at the bottom. Smidgen, it's a real term. There's a little bit in here that I'd want to fix with the blue line not quite matching to the exterior edge of the panel. Well, I think this one's going to be finicky. Yeah, finicky sucker. So we'll go with what we got. Just undo that action because it's better there. Okay, well, so there we go. So now I've matched my lines up a little bit better. Everything's touching those outside lines. So when I take that guideline off, it's a stronger page than these two pages. I'll take the guidelines off that to get them unencumbered here too. So this is actually, now let's go through the steps again. Original source, okay? I need to change its format from portrait to landscape. So there's the first breakdown of the two different aspects of this page. And they don't work because they've stretched and pulled. Okay, so I've corrected that. But because I can't fit all three tiers on one level, it forces me to have to split to two. And it's a little disjointed, the scaling of these panels from one to the next. So what I can do is I can take this page, switching it to a landscape format like this. I realize that when you look at that, you think to yourself, well, why do all those efforts? I've made a decision that the things that I'm going to release, if I want to have some kind of, this is how my approach to storytelling is. I want to have some way to look at how an independent can stand on a shelf with the rest of the regular books and not be confined to comic book stores and not be confined to having to have a comic style format. I think it could be limiting. So if I switch to the landscape format, it gives me a better chance at a more open market. So I've taken my portrait page and I've switched it to the landscape page. I know it's basic and I know that it's something that maybe doesn't necessarily make sense to others. But the reality of it is it allows me to have a different take on how I'm doing what I'm doing. And I feel good about this. The text is in the same format. It's in the same size. It's in a 14-point text as it is in my other book, in my Stream of Conceitedness book. Or I'm so sorry. It's in the Village Haunted book. And so because this format here, this is just the visuals without the text, forgive me, but it's in the same format as here. They're very different books. And yet at the same time, there's kind of a uniformity to how I'm releasing things. And that makes me feel just dandy. So, that's that. Good fun. Good fun in the sun. So that's my big talk for today. I mean, I don't have how to make your art look better, how to get your lines a little more fine and finished, That's a way to do it. Yesterday, I did this drawing on the old podcasty wasty, and I did this drawing. And these are just digitally drawn images. There's no underlying anything to this. It's other like there's the line, there's the line art there, and I moved it about a little bit, tighten it up, shrink it down. Right, here's the original blue line underdrawing. Step that up into the black, and then put some color to it. And then just save that as a flat file. But I put the text in with, put the lettering in by going through the text button on my panel. But I'm pretty pleased with how these sketches are turning out and becoming very comfortable. My wife looks at it and says it's again kind of a different style, kind of a different approach I'm doing again. But I'm becoming more comfortable with drawing with the digital pen, and I do that with my happy pen. I'm happy. So, oh joy, oh bliss. I think that I'm going to keep it short today. But this is the way that I am taking a portrait page, switching it to a landscape page so that there's a uniform approach to how I release things in the portrait format. Okay? And is my work the most refined and glorified thing that you've ever seen? It's just mine. It's just how I work. But I'm feeling better in having this sort of consistent way of releasing projects. And despite the fact that they're very different styles that I'm drawing in, this is pencil that is then switched from whatever color pencil is to straight black, and then another layer put underneath the color. Whereas this is very mixed media. You got traditional black and white line art with color applied, and you've got some ballpoint pen, which represents another aspect of the story. It's a film. You can see it in the bottom panel. You can see where the mouse is wiggling around here. This is the film that these characters are watching in a jazz club. And so because of that, you know, it lets this background, this drop here, make more sense on the same page. If I switch that over to 2 pages for a while, you're like, what the hell's with the 2 different styles? But if I keep that on the same page, I feel like that it resonates a little bit better. You know, I can go a little farther and push this guy up visually, but I'm trying to keep those lines similar, consistent here. I think that shape makes him feel less compacted, so, you know, I'll go with that one. But I feel like this is the page approach to get all of those vital elements from the portrait format into a landscape format. That's it. That's my thoughts. The Village Haunted book is coming along. I'm almost done it. We're in the last 8 pages, and the reason that I've really slowed down on the release of those is because of 2 things. One, the first reason is that, do I really want to give away the ending? And I may still do that, but I think I'm going to do that specifically on my Patreon for only $3 a month. Canadian, so it's like a nickel American. I'm debating on releasing the end of this story on Instagram and Facebook and just releasing it on Patreon for one, or maybe not quite releasing it, doing the first couple pages of it, and then rather than giving their big reveal, it's the ha-ha, you got to buy it. So we'll see. We'll see. And then, of course, Stream of Conceitedness, I've got 40 pages done of this book in this format that I'm now switching to this format for release. So last year, I illustrated 3 books. And this year, I'm and that doesn't include these. Now, that's 3 books for myself. I also illustrated 2 books for others. And then I just finished, I only count the book in last year because I just finished another book for someone else just now. So I'm counting that for this year. And then I'm formatting Stream. So, although I counted Stream for last year. But I'll have, I released, 2 books were released that I did last year. And I'm going to have at least 4 released this year. Not all by me, possibly 5. Not all by me. And that's a challenge because when you're working on projects for other people, sometimes they fall apart because of whatever, you know, generally mismanagement. But that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at for productivity wise. I've been seeing all these YouTube posts that people are doing where they're saying, what did I do in 2022? And what am I doing in 2023? And I'm not that polished to do one of those, but this is it. This is what's going on. What do we got? 7. Research, writing, illustrating. 7 says their work needs to improve more. Hands, hand, pink waving, face blue smiling. I don't know what that means. Pink waving, hand pink, waving, face blue smiling. I'm not quite sure what that sentence is, but everybody needs to improve more. I need to improve more. I drew this 2 years ago, a lot of these images, and I'm just trying to tighten it up now. The problem with working on other projects, and, you know, 3 books for other people last year and 2 films, kept me from doing a lot of my own stuff. So the problem with doing other projects is that it doesn't quite make you able to finish your own, unless if you have more things going on. So I'm working on it. We'll get faster. So this isn't a very long post today, and it's largely not a very long post because unfortunately I've got to get cracking on something. I will be releasing pages for A Village Haunted. I'll release next page of that tomorrow on Instagram and Facebook, and and then get into the home stretch here, last part of this chapter, and I think I might do the first 2 pages of the next chapter, but then not do the final resolve, because what's the point of just giving it all out? So I really need to advance my illustrations and stories, more real substance. One Punch. Those are very different books, Crumb Comics and One Punch. Like, everybody needs to improve what they're doing, and everyone needs to find their own voice. I'm a big proponent of finding one's own voice over emulating others. There's all kinds of people I would have, should have, could have, if I had the same drawing association as others. But I find it's better, like you say, when you advance your illustration and story work, but you do it with your own voice. And I feel like this is the way I'm finding mine, by switching to this, individual format from your standard one. I think that this looks like a comic page, but this looks like a different style of storytelling. So, and this as well, it just changes it to more of a storybook, I feel like, than a comic book. That's my theory. Okay, well, that's all I really want to go through today. I'm sorry it's not a very long talk. Thanks, Evan, for jumping in there. I hope that the stuff you're working on, you're feeling good about, as much as it's important to do all this work and all the researching and writing and illustration and development and stuff like that. Enjoy it, right? Don't just critically analyze yourself. Like, if I look at these old pages and say, well, this looked like junk, I drew better than this, I'm going to redo the whole book. I'm not going to get anything done. I can format it a little bit better and clean it up, but this is a really fast process that lets me move right along and continue to produce material, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. This is something that I spent 15 minutes, I think, when I assessed what I had here, and I assessed what had come out of it, and realized, no, I can't stand that. This felt like a better move, but because it had to take up 2 panels, I refined it to that. And that is the comfortable way to put out a page that feels like it's authentically me singing with my voice. And that's the way everybody needs to do. So yes, finding our own voice. That's what it's all about. And that's how you can treat your art right. That's how you can treat yourself right. Not devalue the efforts that you made, and allow you to continue on with what you're doing. So, good on you, Seven, and good on anybody else that takes that adage to heart. And I look forward to see what people are doing. And thanks for hanging out. This has been a lot of fun, but I got to get back to work. So I will be, I think, on Monday, Gary Hodges is going to join me at 2:00. So I will be promoting that. And also on Monday, if anybody is in the London, Ontario, Canada area and wants to come and join us at the TAP, Center for Creativity, for the London Comic Jam from 6 to 9, please do so. All right. I think I'm going to try to post something this week, and I'll post a page tomorrow. But other than that, we're off to the races and off and working. Thank you, Seven, for your comments. Thank you, anybody that's tuned in to watch this. I hope everybody out there has a great day. And, keep creating. Bye for now.